Good evening. Welcome to the TransZ eSport Race Series, brought to you by Manuka Performance. This race by Phoenix Cycle Distributors. Last race of the series. I've got Rob Dallymore here with me.
Yeah.
I'm Anna Russell. And Rob, thoughts for tonight? Thoughts for the whole series, actually.
Well, I'm back at home, so that's a great thought for tonight. But
First time.
yeah. I mean, here we are. It's been an incredible series, and I don't think it's all done yet. You know, these leaderboards can change significantly after tonight's race, so I'm really looking forward to it. And I think we've left the best to last because everybody, like I've said every week, it's an FTP test, but this one is an FTP test, and it will come down to the strongest rider who's got the most endurance and can dig the deepest. So good luck, everybody.
Absolutely. Should we? You mentioned the leaderboards there. Let's head over and have a look through the results. We'll kick off with you, Rob. Tell us about these clubs.
Yes, so the club race, club series, points, Triathlon Tauranga have a nice handy lead, Auckland City Tri, Canterbury Tri not far behind them, and Tri Wellington and North Harbour taking it up at the end of that leaderboard.
I'll talk through the coach groups here. Foot Traffic, that's you, Rob, absolutely
Wow.
dominating this series. You've roped in all your athletes and their friends to join Foot Traffic. Team
All done
Inspire in
well.
second. You've done very well. Congratulations. No one is catching that lead. Pretty tight after that, though, between Team Inspire Fitter and O'Hagan Sport. That could come down to tonight as well. And Perimeter Coaching in fifth place.
My money's on Team Inspire to hold
Oh,
second place.
thanks. Thank you.
Okay, in the A category men, Mark Bosed is leading with Ben Ruth, James Harvey, James Barnes, Alex Heaney, and looking at it now, I think everyone is on the start list, so that's going to be an interesting race. And in the women, Emma O'Connor, Danielle Trawoon, Georgina Thornton, Bridget Kittle, and Hannah Prosser, and I think the same thing applies to them. I think everybody's on the start list, so it's going to come down to the wire.
Looking at the B Cats, we've got Tom Burgess leading up Fons captain, David Goodall, Paul Kropp, and Justin Roy. On the women's side, Sonia Foote, and I've seen her in the start pen already, so she's eager and ready to go. Britt Litton, she's always there early, so she'll have a great one. Sarah Gorman, Anna Longdill, and Kat Conlon.
Okay, in the C's, we've got Brian Goods, Christoph Pinnell, David Spedding, Matt Winter, and Christian Reed. And in the women, Hannah Martin, Vicky McNaught, Angie Wall, Deirdre Lack, and Kelly Good.
And looking at the D's, Jeff Roberts in first for the men, Paul Davidson in second, Sean Willis in third, Barry Eccles in fourth, and Zach Holzer in fifth. Cherie Horsborg leading that out for the women with Michelle Lawton-Hill. Ellie Boggs, who I got a message from last week, had an unfortunate technical of 4K to go, so here's hoping her internet holds up tonight. Kylie Frost in fourth and Amanda Needham, in fifth. And Rob, you finish us off with those under-19s.
Yeah, the under-19s, we've got Zach Holzer, Matthew Nay, Grayson Westgate, Luke Scott, and Matheson Colquhoun, and the women, Hannah Prosser, Samantha Frost, and Charlotte Brown. Exciting stuff.
That does look really good. So we'll go into the course detail fairly soon. We've got about 3 minutes 40 left until the men A and the women A's and B's kick it off. I'm feeling nervous already. This course, I've had a lot of people message today and ask exactly what it's like, and I've got to say it's not the easiest. So Rob, how about you take us through this KOM after party?
Yeah, well, we did a recce around this with my group on Monday night, and everyone's comments were the same. But we won't put them. Well, I won't mention them because they're X-rated. But this is a tough one. So we've got the smaller Innsbruck ring loop, which we will be doing 3 times, and that's a relatively flat course, flat section, except there is one significant climb each lap, which is about 40 seconds to maybe 70 seconds long, depending on how strong you are, and it could be anywhere from 5 to 8 watts kilo for the duration of that climb. So it's a very, very tough little section. It's a good section because if you do get away, you can really springboard off that. But if you do get dropped, you can actually ride back into the group on the descent and on the flat after it. Second time around that loop, we go through the sprint banner, and there are points on the line for that. Those points will be hotly contested, I'm sure. And then as we get round that last lap, we head up the hill, and as I said before, it's an FTP test. For some, it's going to take 20 minutes. For some, it's going to take 40 minutes. It's going to be a long drag. But the thing about this course is it's not super steep. It's actually draftable for most of the climb. The interesting thing will be what happens at the top, because it does flatten out about half a K from the finish, where it's a lot flatter, and use of the power-ups up that section will be really important. So it looks like we have a truck, ghost, and aero power-ups. So if you have either of those as you hit the bottom of that climb, I will be holding on to those so you get to the top and making the most of them when you hit that final section to the finish. So course knowledge is super important here. There are some twists and turns up that climb, but it's pretty much straight, steady state, 6 to 8% gradient the whole way. Fun times.
Fun is maybe not the words I'll use. I will actually just make a wee little shout out. I've been sent some swag today from a team that is absolutely gunning for an overall win. They've had Alex Heaney out there, James Harvey, I think, as well. So little shout out to the Iron Wags crew who is representing tonight. They have sent me a lovely t-shirt, which unfortunately, because I'm 7 months pregnant, don't quite fit. So I didn't want to chuck that on. But yeah, good luck to them. And I've also seen the NZ Bros team come out of this. So they're a New Zwift team. A bunch of Kiwis joining up to that, and they're planning a whole bunch of racing coming up over the winter. So yeah, awesome to see some teams emerging and getting out there amongst it. I'm seeing the start lines looking pretty good here. They've just under a minute, about 45 seconds to go before they kick off into, like you said, Rob, a relatively easy start with a lot of flat. I mean, the tips I gave to people who asked me today was just conserve as much energy as humanly possible on those 3 laps.
Yeah.
And save it all for that climb, because that's where it's going to come
absolutely.
down to.
Yeah, I mean, you can get dropped and you can probably lose 45 seconds to a minute in the first 3 laps. And if you've been conservative and if you've got, the commitment and the focus, you can actually put a lot of that back on that climb, because I dare say people will be going out way too hard, will hit the bottom of that climb, punch it, and, a quarter of the way up will be really suffering. So this is one for the patient, the patient rider who's prepared to wait. Saying that though, the riders up front, it's going to be all on from the gun, and I'm picking this is going to come down to in the A race, it's going to come down to a bunch sprint in the men's race, and I'm picking James Barnes will probably take this one, just knowing that it's flat at the top. He's the fastest sprinter in the race, and it's not steep enough for the really, really lightweight, super powerful climbers to get away. It's a draftable race, and I know James can sit in the back and just wait for his time. So that's my pick for the men's. And for the women's, I can't go past Emma O'Connor. She's been the form rider in every race, every terrain. So let's see how it goes, eh?
Yeah, we're straight in. So we're following Ryan Kazanowski here. This is the A men, and the women have just headed off too. Looks like they've got a front group of about 10 with all the hitters we're talking about to start off with. So bit of flat to start with. Like we said, it's sprint on lap 2 is the bonus point. Yeah. So don't expect to see too many fireworks on the sprint on lap 1.
First thing I'm noticing is it's not going out as fast as we've seen in other races. Everybody is mindful of this climb at the end. This is a relatively pedestrian start. 4s, 3.5s, 5s. It's not crazy. Which is good, because it's going to mean that we're going to see some fireworks when we hit the first of the climbs on this Innsbruck ring lap. But it's definitely going to be a race that's going to get harder and harder as it goes, but yet nice and patient to start with, which is good, because I quite like seeing this tactical race. But as we can see, following Ryan, he's a legit Zwift racer. He knows how to do it, and he's just sitting there for what's kilo. That's not going too hard for him. He's just waiting for his time. And there's James Barnes tucked in the back. I think we'll be seeing him there most of the day. So
looks like I do have a question there though for Paul Miller, who's jumped in on the socials. Is Liam, who has been racing in the A category men, is he Zwifting in the lounge of your top 10? Because that is a great commitment if he is. So Paul, maybe let us know if he's actually taken all his setup down to Wanaka. That would be good to know.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. There's no reason to miss these races out, and if it means you're going on holiday, then you take everything with you. So good on him.
Well, we know you have, Rob. You've logged in for commentary in just about every part of Australasia.
Yeah, well, there's no excuse. I can't miss this race. This is my highlight of the week. Seeing what happens here. I've
got to say, I've actually just seen a great message come in that You just say it's the highlight of your week. Craig Kirkwood saying it's the most exciting part of his day in MIQ. So, Craig, you should have got a smart trainer sent over there and jumped on and raced. It would have made it even more exciting.
I don't see an excuse at all. I'm sure he'd have one over there as well.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, good mention for Craig there with his athlete Hayden Wild, who raced the series last year, has been selected for the Olympic Games, and Craig is over in, well, I'm not sure if he's in Tokyo at the moment, or he might be in Europe still, I think. But yeah, awesome to see, to see that happening. So
Oh, so
Craig's
exciting.
been there, done that. Yeah.
We've
So
got a
Craig knows what's
plethora
involved.
of sport at the moment. I mean, I'm getting up every morning to introduce my sons to the Tour de France. And then as
Oh yes.
soon as that finishes, we're almost kicking straight into the Olympics, which, oh man, it's just going to be super, super exciting. So, yeah, great watching coming up when this E Series finishes. We've got the E Tri event next Saturday, and then basically we can all settle on down and watch Olympics 24/7.
Yeah, I love July. This is my favourite time of the year when it comes to sport watching. Not necessarily the weather, but we're definitely enjoying the sport. So here we can see, again, just as I said before, James Barnes is conserving his energy. I can see James hasn't gone for a disc, so he's obviously aware that, yep, the climb is significant enough that it does need a lighter setup, but he's still gone for something that's aerodynamic by the looks of it. There's a few riders on Tron bikes. I think Tron would have probably been the most... the best all-rounder bike for this, but obviously it comes down to what works best for you and what suits your riding style. But yeah, if anyone was going to be riding a disc, it would have been James, and he's gone without. So there you go. It's definitely going to come down to a climbing race, but there's still going to be a sprint at the top. So good to see what's happening around there. But yeah, as we can see, Ryan's still sitting at a nice, comfortable 4 watts kilo. He's 154 beats. He's probably just riding zone 2 right now, so he could probably do this all day. I'm sure he's done it before. But here we are coming through the town. So this is as you can see, it's still flat to downhill. We're going to go over a small cobbled section shortly. We hit the bottom of this climb, and as I say, it's not a steep climb, but it's where we're going to start seeing the fireworks really, really light up, and it sort of sneaks up on you, and it's all about course knowledge, because there is a section where you cross over a river, and that's really where the climb starts. And if you're wanting to have an attack on that climb, you've got to be going at the bottom of it. You can't really wait till you see the climb itself. It's a bit of a sleeper, this one. But
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll follow the men's race as they hit what's called the leg snapper, see if anyone's up for a bit of an early attack. I'm sort of looking here at Josiah Nay because he's been lighting things up a lot. Then we'll cut over to
yeah,
the women's race. They've got a lead pack of about 11 to 12, and I think that will end up splitting a bit in the women's time up the leg snapper. So we'll follow the men up, and the women will be very, very close behind them.
yeah. So here we are in the cobble section. So this is where I sort of wake up and think, right, we're going to be hitting this climb soon. It's still pretty flat, but people are still working their way into this group. There have been some riders that have been split off this front pack already. So it's not going, it's not easy. You've still got to be riding well the whole way through this, but it's definitely not as much of a selection as we've seen in other races. This has been a lot more patient, and I'm sure riders like Mark Bosted will just be knowing exactly where he's at right now, happy to just wait, because it comes down to the points on the second time round and the finish on the climb. So it's stretching out a little bit, and John Story's taking a little bit of a lead there, so he knows that we're coming up to this bottom of the climb. Here's this bridge, we'll go over the river, little right, little left, and then we hit the climb, and this is where we're going to see the fireworks light up first up. I think we're going to see some riders get dropped up here, but again, it's a section of climb that's not long enough that you lose big gaps, but if you're not onto it and if you're not sharp coming down the other side, you'll be gone. You're not coming back from it.
Oh, there are some attacks already opening
So
up. Look at that, Ryan
look
Kazanowski,
at that,
10 watts
Ryan
a
straight into
kg.
it.
This is
Yeah,
going to
he's
absolutely
stretching it
separate
out.
it.
Yep. Now, it's having a large effect now, but obviously it's not going to continue the whole way. So those riders that have been dropped will have to work together to get back onto the front of this. But Ryan has it's like Ryan thinks the top of the climb is the finish of the race. He's just lit it up. He's put a couple of seconds already onto that group, and it's gone in no time. He's probably gone up there in 30 seconds, which is incredibly quick. And as we see coming around the corner, Mark Bosted's just second in the race, coming around there, and they're just going to be working together to pull back onto Ryan. But Mark's actually got a little lead off that pack behind him. But there's some big riders in that group, so it's going to come back together. Here we are with the women's race. Similar sort of thing.
No attacks that I'm seeing. We've got Emma O'Connor, who has really lit up this series. She's had a great one. I can see Sonia Foote. She's riding for that Black Dirt Collective. She's just behind.
Yeah.
Natalie Smith. I mean, you gave her Rider of the Week last week.
Yeah.
She's right up there. Looking really good.
She's doing extremely well.
For someone who was starting in the BCAT, lost all her points because she graded up, she is still on the cusp for this E-Tri qualification, and seeing a board member from the Tri and Z actually racing in the E-Tri race would be phenomenal. So,
and it's not fixed. That's that's not rigged.
It's not fixed. She is working hard, and I've got to say, it looks like there's a bit of a gap here. There's some riders.
Yeah, but I think they're going to come back because that's Britt Lytton who's there, Fiona Gallagher, Heather Neal. Heather's just been dropped off the back there. Fiona can get on to Carly Francis's wheel. Should be able to pull them back as it hits the flat if they're committed to keep riding through. That front group's probably going to sit up as they hit that flat section. There's a little climb here, which is where you can make up a lot of that time, and there they come. They back into it by the looks of it. So Britt's on there. Fiona's missed that gap. So Fiona and Carly will have to dig real deep, for this next probably 2 or 3K. They'll really, if they want to be in this group, they've got to ride into it. I think Britt's done a great job to be there. She'll be very, very happy with that.
She'll be really happy because I'm seeing one of the other riders in her B category, Laura Wood, about 44 seconds back of this group. So she won't be catching up. And it looks like Heather Neal as well from the B cat will be dropping back. So Britt Lytton, if she can stay with this group, that's going to be good for her. However, I know she always says she doesn't really have the climbing legs, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem when they hit that big climb, especially being a like you said, a 20 to 40 minute climb.
Well, she may have gone into this with that plan in mind of knowing that as long as she's with this group, it's going to split and leave some of those other riders behind, and just hope that she has something in the tank for later. But she's done what she's needed to. She's in that front group. Now, as they come to the banner, this isn't the sprint lap. This is going to happen second time around. So they're just getting an idea of where the sprint point is, where their markers are for when they're opening up their sprint. But that gap back to Carly and Fiona is now 11 seconds, and they could probably hit the bottom of that climb 45 to 60 seconds down and still pull some of these riders back if they do start to blow up. But I don't know if we'll see that happen. We've seen Sonia, who's always gone out pretty hard. She tends to fade a little bit towards the end, so we might see some of that happen. But this group now are just going to sit together. The Watts are going to start dropping back down. They're going to start just biding their time and waiting for this next time up that climb.
And looks like they do. I'm just seeing a message come in from James Barnes. Is that looks like they've got the regular default power-ups from Zwift, so that will be Feather, Truck and Aero. So that Feather is going to really cause a lot of change on that climb. People will be saving that, and that could change things up as they're heading up that Innsbruck climb.
Well, that's going to be really tactical because you can obviously use that Feather earlier in the race on the leg snapper climb, but whether you get that or not is a different story. But just looking at the numbers that these guys are pushing out at the moment, it's like I said, it's not huge watts per kilo. They're riding mid to low to mid fours at the moment for the majority of that race of that pack, which isn't crazy. There's 22 riders in that group, which is a large group. We've seen it being much smaller at this stage in other races, so the pace isn't as hot. But there's already 3 or 4 riders have been dropped off from that front pack. So it was a fairly small pack to start with, but there's still 22 riders there in the mix.
Might just have a look at this pack further back, because unlike the men, the A category for the women is actually the A's and B's together. So you kind of got 2 battles going on at once. So I can see Laura Wood here, Annabelle Longdill, Eva Nugent, Sarah Gorman. I think from what I recall, these were all pretty good B category riders. So I might just see if we can pull up the B category standings at the moment. And if you look at that's Britt Lytton is doing very well, as is Sonia Foote. She's in that front pack, but Sarah Gorman, Anna Longdill and Kat Conlon are in this second pack behind. So there's going to be a battle going up that climb. It's a really
Yeah.
great kit, whoever's got that on. That must be the new
Let's look.
Zwift Pride On kit. I think it is.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Ooh, that looks nice. Yeah.
Interesting numbers here. The women's race is they're riding at a similar watts per kilo to the A men. So obviously different power numbers because there's different weights, but similar level of intensity for a smaller group. So and that group's probably the women are probably working a lot harder relative to the men. Which just gives you an indication of the different tactics that come into these races. But as we can see with this men's race, it's still pretty tight, pretty together. Again, they're not going massive numbers. They're riding mid threes to fours, which is pretty pedestrian for an ACAT race. So again, we're going to see some riders hitting the bottom of this climb fresh and able to really punch it out and really look to hit that sprint banner to get those maximum points.
So
I don't know what we're going to see here.
Yeah, sprint banner approximately 15.8k. The hard thing about this sprint, I don't know what you think, Rob, but you've gone up the leg snapper, so you've really pushed up that climb. There's a couple of strategies you can do because the sprint comes very quickly after the downhill of that leg snapper. So do you attack early and just try and get a gap and hold on to it until you get the sprint? So it's the first 5 across the line, not the fastest time. Or do you just stay with the pack and just hope you can use the pack dynamics to push through the pack with a good power up?
Well, yeah, it depends what the power up is, I guess. But what I have seen in some races on this course is that riders who have been dropped at that climb have been able to work hard and sprint through and taken the points on the line. So, it's one of those things where if you're in the group and you're just waiting for the 200 meters to go to start your sprint, you don't know what's coming behind, and there might be someone who's riding at 10, 15 k an hour faster than you, and as soon as they hit your group, they're just going to go straight through and straight on. So it's certainly one that you don't want to be sitting back, especially if you know that you have dropped some riders who are strong enough to do that. If a strong rider like, not saying that Mark Bosey would get dropped, but he's the kind of rider who could descend off that climb with a huge amount of power and carry it through the flat and roll through a group to take those points. But that's I don't think he'll get dropped, but that's a scenario that could occur. We might see Ben Ruth, something like that might happen with him. He may not have had much experience racing on this course and may not know how this climb deals to you. So, but we know that he's strong and he's got that power to descend fast. He's got that weight behind him, and he can hit the bottom with a decent amount of pace. But we're just rolling up with about 12k in, so we've got about 3.5k to that sprint banner. So we've got the climb coming up, and the usual players are sitting at the front, but again, it's not huge numbers. The average for the race at this stage for this group has actually dropped a little bit, so it's only 4.3 now. So although in saying that, we've got some riders that are up around 4.8, 4 to 5, which they're probably much lighter riders. There's a couple of riders that are around in the 60s to low 70s, which are pushing quite high watts per kilo, but also they may not be riding quite as efficiently as some of the other riders who are a little bit craftier and know how the game's played.
Have you seen,
and that comes down to it.
I'm just looking at the sort of the brotherly battles we have going on. I'm seeing Josiah and Matthew Nay there in that front group. So the two Nay brothers. I'm just wondering, I haven't seen Bobby Kells. He's usually right up in his front group, and he's right on the cusp of that top 5. So I'm just...
He's actually not he's not in Zwift Power.
So he might have just decided to strategically drop this race because it is your best 4 races, and just thought, maybe a 20-minute uphill drag is not potentially the best one for him.
I know he's got a team time trial on Friday, which he might be focusing more on as well. Interesting thing with Josiah Nay, I saw on Instagram, he had a photo of his bike on the trainer, and he had a nice aero front wheel on his real life bike, which that's going to help.
I love that. I love when you try and fully match your avatar. I go the full aero setup on my trainer bike. It makes a difference, Rob, even if it's just mentally.
It does make a difference, exactly. So, we're just rolling through town again. We're hitting these cobbles again, and you know what that means? It means we're coming to the bottom of this climb pretty soon. So, it's stretching out a little bit now, so there's a little bit more pace going on. Matthew Nay's pushing it up. Grayson Westgate, he's riding strong. looks like he's got a light on the front of his bike. It must be getting a bit dark there, so safety first. But yep, Jack Poley's there. I can see Jack's a rider who's ridden this course many, many times before. He's with Toyota Cryo RDT, and he's a super experienced rider on this course. I know I've raced with him a few times here, and I know he can ride it very, very well. So he might be someone who you'll see come through later on. But yeah, John Story doing the same thing he did before. He's taking it out.
And looking at Grayson Westgate here too, I think he's got a relative who's tuned into the Sky Sport Next feed. I've just seen a Westgate comment in there. So Grayson, he's doing very well in the under 19 category too. And we saw him light things up a bit last week, but just dropped off the pace and couldn't quite catch back on. So good to see him now really pushing. But it looks like Josiah Nay, who I said, make something happen in this race. Look at this.
And he used an aero power up to do that as well. So he's a smart guy. He used it on the flat when it's most effective. He's got a second lead and he's going at it. He's going at 8.5 guys behind him. Mark's doing 10, 12. Oh. Mark's going to catch up to him. But, Josiah's done to the pack, which a lot of riders would have wanted to have done, and that stretched it right out. And I'm feeling sorry for those guys who are on the back of that group because
it's painful.
It's really, we're only halfway up that hill and it's really stretched out. And there's a lot of feathers being used, so it's having its effect. But little gap here. Now, who's that? Looks like Alex Heaney may be in that at the front of that split, so these guys have to bury themselves to get back in if they want to. In fact, I think Alex actually made it across that with that group. It looks like Josiah may have been on the back of that pack, and Tim Rush is back there, Jack Poley's back there. So it's really opened it up. But we got Mark straight into the Super Tuck, and he's leading them through. So as I said before, in this previous time around here, there is a little elevation which we're coming up to now, and if you have been dropped, that's your chance to get back in. If you keep riding through, and then there's another fast descent in the flat, and then we go through to the sprint line. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, pretty soon till they hit the sprint. I've estimated about 15.8k, which means they're about 600 metres away. This has really strung out the pack, and it's split into two now. So Taz Self, Grayson Westgate, who went out a little bit early potentially, have just dropped off the pace a little bit from this front group. And with a sprint coming up, it's going to be very, very hard to catch back on, because as soon as these guys around the slight right-hander coming up, they're going to see the sprint banner and it's all on. So those behind, it may be game over.
And who do we see tucked in the back there? James Barnes. So again, I've said it before. I think we're going to see James take out the sprint. He's riding at sixth wheel at the moment. He's just making the most of that draft. He probably has a power up. And in fact, here he goes with his feather. So he's using the feather to have a really, really quick acceleration. And he's moving across. He's going to come up onto Ben Ruth. Ben's gone early. James is coming fast, and James is still going past him. So there goes that sprint. That's how.
There goes the bonus. Wow,
that's
good job, Ben Ruth, though, and very close behind. But wow,
great ride from Ben.
Really
but that's
impressed.
that just goes to show you can still win a sprint with the feather power up. A lot of people think a feather's just for the hill climbs. You can definitely win a sprint on a feather. You lightens your bike up. You can accelerate so much quicker. On the women's, business as usual. Emma's at the front. Georgina Thornton's with her. But Natalie Smith's still riding there, and this group is still together. Looks like Britt Litton's 6 seconds, so she just got pinged off. Yeah, that makes it hard,
and
because
Hannah
now
Prosser, danger zone too. She is just yo-yoed off the back there, so that's not a place you want to be. I'm really interested in this battle between Georgina and Emma coming up to the sprint banner, because they've been battling all series long, and it's kind of been going one after the other. Which one's going to take it out? I mean, I know Emma's got a great sprint, but I think Georgina could be one to watch tonight.
Yeah, I'm saying Danielle Taroon. We've seen Danielle come through strong in some of these sprints very, very late into the piece. Only a few meters before the finish line, but we'll see how this plays out. I think it's going to be a similar thing to the men's race, where we're going to have someone take a flyer, but someone's going to come through fast. So Natalie Smith moving on the front, and sitting on the back of that group we have Kiddle, Taroon, O'Connor. So they're just sitting there waiting, biding their time. And again, as I say that, here comes Danielle now.
Sonia Footer's actually dropped off that pace too. I've noticed she's 46 seconds back, about to be caught by Carly Francis. So those guys will work together. But yeah, I think Britt Little will end up getting swallowed up by that sort of chasing group of bees. Whereas this is the A Cats, Really taking
Yeah.
it to the course and coming up to the sprint points now.
So we've got probably about a 20-second max effort sprint here, and let's see who opens it up. Danielle Tarun sitting in the back, just on the wheels, and they're waiting.
Who's going to
Who's
go?
got?
This
Okay, there goes the power up. Who's using the arrows?
Everyone.
Emma and Danielle. Well, they've all got them. Okay, let's see what happens.
Troon. Troon's opened up.
Yeah, yeah. I think she's going to go through it.
Oh, but
Tarun taking that
I
lead.
think that's
Yeah.
Emma. I think Emma
Oh,
took that over
Emma
Troon.
rolled her.
We'll get
Wow.
the replays coming up soon, but I think that might have been Emma O'Connor with Danielle Troon in second, with Bridget Kittle in third. I think maybe even Natalie Smith coming
There were
through
some
for the
great battles.
fourth. And Georgina Thornton just dropping off a bit, but she's got a power up there, so she should be okay.
Yeah, she's digging deep to get across, and she should do all right. But yeah, there's some great sprinting going on between these riders. Every week they're just taking it to each other. So good job on that. It's a select group we've got here. As we can see, Brit's now 30 seconds down, so tough place for her to be. Hannah Prosser 17 seconds, Sonia Foot 56. They're probably going to come back together. They might have a lap on their own and hit the bottom of that climb. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it just shows how much effect that little climb only takes 30 or 40 seconds, maybe 50 seconds. How much effect that can have on people.
Let's have a look at the men's replay.
Okay, so as you can see, where they're waiting. They're coming up to the line out, which is about 300 meters. There goes the feather, and James was the first one to use a power up. In fact, he might have even been the only one with a power up, but he made the most of it. And Ben was already going. Ben went really early, but James comes strong. 13.5 watts kilo over 11.5 watts kilo.
Look at all those numbers. Those are insane.
Yeah, very, very strong riders. But yeah, good play to James. That was a fantastic sprint.
And it looked like Mark Bosted in third, James Harvey in fourth, and John Story taking out fifth. That's amazing. Good job, John Story.
Yeah. That's and it looks like Tim Rush may have just been gapped off the back of that 4 seconds at that line, which makes it pretty hard to come back from that, especially with the guys that are riding this fast now.
I'll have a quick
the pace is on now.
The women's race, and then we'll head over to the men to see where they're at on lap number 3. They'll probably be at now.
So this is a tight race. As you can see, they were sort of waiting, and then they're in sight of the banner, and then suddenly one person drops the power up, then everyone drops theirs. They were obviously just waiting for the right time. But there still wasn't really a jump until now. Danielle was the first to jump. And usually the first one to jump is the one that has the advantage, but Emma O'Connor was pretty onto it, and she came through with more watts.
Unfortunately, I think Georgina just dropped that truck drafting power up a bit late because she's lost the draft almost. So, yeah, that will be a learning for her. But, yeah, that definitely looked like Emma O'Connor with Danielle Trewern, Nat Smith and Bridget Kittle with Georgina Thornton rounding out all those bonus points. So that'll shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, that's exciting. The thing with that truck is it lasts twice as long as the other one, so at least, as we saw, that she used it early, but she had the effect of it right through to after that sprint. She was able to get back in by the looks of it. But this group has been whittled down significantly, so it looks like we're down to about 13 or 14 riders, possibly thereabouts, maybe 10 riders. But okay, Bobby's chasing you. Okay,
so that's
priorities.
Oh gosh, a house auction in Auckland. I don't know. That's got to be more stressful than racing, right?
Yeah, what's tougher to win, an auction or a Swift race?
I think an auction in Auckland would be by far tougher to win. So good to know that he's got his priorities right there, and he's obviously decided to drop this race and take the other best four. But thanks for the update there, Sue. Has
a $100,000 power up that he throws down just before the gavels dropped.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, so yeah, it looks like, as you know, we're on our last lap now of this Innsbruck ring before we hit the big climb, the KOM after party. But this group has come back down to casual endurance pace by the looks of it. We're just sitting below 4 watts kilo for most of them. Average power for the race so far isn't massive. It hasn't really increased from the last lap.
And look at this though, Grayson Westgate here pushing 5 watts a kg and dragging this group up. They've got eyes on that group in front. I think To be honest, I think they might catch them now that they can see them.
Yeah,
They're 10 seconds back. They're within that magic sort of 15 seconds. I always think that you'll be able to catch back on. So great job, Grayson Westgate. He is absolutely drilling it to get back on
he
to that
is.
lead group.
And it looks like the guys are swapping it out as well, which is good. It's good to see that work being shared. They obviously they can't message each other. Well, they can message each other, but it's visible to the rest of the race. But if you've got someone working hard on the front, and you can see that there is a group ahead of you, you do get that pack working together. And as we can see, they're now at 9 seconds. If they can catch the bottom of this, if they can get to this group at the bottom of this climb, they're back in the mix. Here's Blair Taylor from Cycles, another super strong rider in real life. He's come straight to the front, and he's just throwing the watts down. But what can happen is they might get on the back of them, and then they have to go double hard to get up that climb. But they're actually pushing very, very well. They're 7 seconds now. We're gonna see them. We're going to see Grupo Compacto at the bottom of this climb.
Oh, good little cycling terminology there.
Yeah,
Liking that.
yeah.
You've been watching a bit too much of the tour as well, I think.
Oh yeah, living the life. And 6 seconds, so we're going to see this come back now. Surely these guys are going to come across, and it looks like the group in front aren't doing much to counter it. They know they're strong riders. They know that all they have to do is get to the bottom of this climb, and they can probably throw down the same watts they did before. But we don't know what these riders in this group chasing, what they can do. Have they been just biding their time? Have they been conserving their energy? Have they just mistimed their accelerations up this climb previous laps? We will soon find out. But at 5 seconds, this is exciting racing, and this just goes to show that it's not over if you do get dropped.
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes when you've got dropped in Zwift, you just think that's it. But I think because a lot of these races are potentially new to Zwift, they're like, no, it's not. That's not it. I'm going to keep going and going and going. And that front group has significantly slowed down. That you notice, Rob, they're down to sort of 3.8, and Grayson here is pushing up to 6.2. He does not want to lose sight of this group before they hit that leg snapper. So he is absolutely, he's pulled people off no one on his wheel now.
He's ridden them off his wheel, and I think he's just going to go straight through them. I think he's timed this really well, that he'll come to this group on that bridge, and he'll just keep on riding. If he's still got the legs in himself, he'll go through this group before they realise he's there, and he'll already be 2 watts kilo over them. And I hope he just keeps on going. Let's not play this down. He's pushing some big numbers. To be able to hold 6 watts kilo for the period of time that he has is very, very hard. So he's going to have something in the tank, but he's bridged across. Look at that.
He's bridged across, and now it's going to hurt. I mean, they're going to be pushing orange numbers already. Now, what's he got? Can he stay with them on this climb after pushing those huge watts to catch back up? Oh, man, that's going to be tough.
But he's brought those riders across with him, so they're only a second down now. So top work by Grayson Westgate. But as we can see, he's just getting stretched out, and he just might be paying the price for that effort. And the other riders that were with him, they're now gone back to 1 or 2 seconds behind, but he's not out of it. He's still got some strong riders around him. But at the front, we can see Jack Poley, Ben Ruth, Mark Bosted. Those guys are just doing what they do well. Cole Gray.
Looking at this now, Rob, they've got a 20-minute, basically FTP test ahead of them, a brutal climb that almost has no flats. It's unrelenting. Now, thoughts, who do you think from this group, and when we're obviously seeing the likes of Jack Polly, Alex Heaney, James Harvey, Ryan Kazanowski, James Barnes, Mark Bosted, Ben Ruth, who has it with that 20 minutes? I mean, I'm almost thinking Ben Ruth with his running background.
Yeah, well, for some of these guys, I think these first 3 laps have just been a primer. They ride pretty comfortably, do 3 30-second hard efforts to start an FTP test, and that's just FTP training protocol. So we're going to see those riders with the big 20-minute powers coming through. And if I look at their numbers now, Alex Heaney, he's got 5.9 for 20 minutes. Mark Bosted's at 5.4 for 20 minutes. I think Ben Ruth 5.7. So those, for them, they'll be hitting the bottom of that climb nicely warmed up, ready to just settle into that power. And it is a matter of just holding threshold and just being steady. It's hard for them, but it's not flat out. Whereas some of these other riders that are behind, they're riding flat out, and that KOM after party for them is going to be a much different story.
So we've just got the women who are about to hit that leg snapper into their last lap of this before they hit the big climb. So might just have a look at if any of them smaller groups. So this is going to be this group. They've just dropped Hannah Prosser as well. She's 5 seconds back. We've got Britt Lytton dropped. She's with the Sonia Foot group now, and a Longdill behind them. But this is really hard with only 5 riders who have managed to break away because it will become very tactical and there's almost no draft benefit really.
No, it is a tough one. I mean, it's quite different to the men's race where the women have actually been racing pretty hard from the start. Um, there's less of them and they're riding at relatively higher power than the men have been racing. So that means that each person has been putting a lot more effort in. I think we're going to see I think we're going to see splits as soon as we hit the bottom of the KOM after party. I think they're all going to come up this hill together. We know there's no points over the other side. But I think once they hit the bottom of the KOM, it's going to be sixes and sevens, so individual riders on their own, just settling into a rhythm.
And if you're looking, I asked you the question with the men. If you're looking at this group with the women, what are you thinking them coming into this big climb? They're going to go over this leg snapper, a bit of a downhill, and then they're going to head to the foot of that big effort. Who are we looking at out of this group of 5?
If Hannah Prosser can get herself back in, I know she's 5 seconds down, but I actually think she's probably got the best climbing numbers for a climb of this duration. And saying that, she's spending a lot of time on her own. She's not getting any draft, and she's going to have to solo it to the bottom of the climb. But I actually think, looking at her numbers, she's probably the rider. If she was with that group and conserving energy, she'd be the one to look out for. But taking that out of the equation, the strongest one really is Emma O'Connor. I know we saw Bridget Kittle, I think, in London. In London, come across on that after party KOM. I think she came across really, really well. So we're going to see her strong as well. But if Hannah can get up there, now she's 9 seconds, so it's making it pretty tough. She's on her own.
Yeah.
But yeah, her watts per kilo are probably the superior in that group right now. Sonia Foot's actually got very, very good watts per kilo, but she's put herself back down the field a little bit.
But she is in the B category, so she.
True.
So she is now riding with Britt Lytton, and this is probably not a position that Britt Lytton wants to be in, knowing that Sonia Foot has that great 20-minute power. Britt's got the faster bike for that climb, but Sonia Foot, group right behind them as well, though. Looks like they're going to catch up. So this is the sort of the catch of the bees. I'll see if I'll get those results up so we can just see who out of this group and the women looks like they're doing
that's a strong
well.
group.
Yeah.
It's a strong group. There's Heather Neal, Laura Wood.
So look at that. Sonia Foot, Britt Lytton are leading the bees. But catching up, you've got Sarah Gorman, Anna Longdill, Kat Conlon. So Sarah Gorman's there. And she could be licking her lips a bit because if she catches on and then can do well on this climb, she hasn't pushed as hard probably. She's been in a bigger pack. Yeah, good positioning.
Sarah Gorman's got some good climbing numbers. She definitely does. So that's going to make it really interesting. She's similar in watts per kilo to Britt on that longer duration. But I think she's probably a little bit fresher because I know Britt's been riding on her own for a little bit of this. So it's all about energy conservation. But as they're coming around the top of this climb, it's going to be a little bit of relief. We're going to see that group come back in because the rolling group's going to move faster than the 2 people on their own.
Exactly. So I think they'll end up getting swallowed up. Good to see Laura Wood there as well, just with that chase group. So, yeah, fantastic. So, getting hotly contested. We have had expressions of interest go out for the E-Tri event, and I know a few of these ladies are definitely in for the hunt to get those qualification spots. So this is going to be a good race to see come through. But I will cut over to the A men now because we've got a attack off the front from Polly.
Yeah. So I called earlier that he's an experienced rider on this course. He knows exactly what's involved, and he is a very, very strong 20-minute rider. He's probably not as strong as some of the others, but he's obviously made an attack early, and he's calling them out, and he's saying who's got the legs to go. He probably feels pretty good. He's always been in the back of the group. He hasn't been on the front. He hasn't been chasing down attacks. He's just been really conservative, and he's taking his chances, and this is how Zwift races unfold. He's got 7 seconds. if he can get that magic number of 15 seconds that you always talk about, um, that's going to have an effect. But right now, 7 seconds is tough. But if he keeps committed to it, he can come across. But he's got some big riders behind him. But knowing how strong Jack is, and in real life, how strong he is, they call him the Jackhammer.
Oh, nice. Good nickname.
Yeah, yeah, and he's a beast. He's a beast. He's in the he's in one of the elite team time trial teams and community racing league teams. So yeah, he's
The
definitely
thing
making a go of it.
is even though there's a group behind, they're soon going to have no draft benefit. They're right at the foot of this climb. They'll be heading
Yeah,
up to a roundabout and then pretty much hitting the climb. Then you don't really get a draft benefit. So how are they going to bridge this 8 seconds when they can't really use the riders around them? They've got to trust their own power for 20 minutes. And I just think Jack Polly has done an amazing job here with this strategy because 9 seconds already, he's soon going to be out of sight, out of
yeah.
mind. There's a few twists and turns up the climb. And I don't know. I'm not sure on why no one sort of bridged that or were a bit worried when he went off the front.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at it, he's sitting around 4.8 to 5, which is right at FTP, right on his right on his 20 minutes. It's not his FTP, right on his 20-minute power. So if he can open up enough of a gap and get a little bit of recovery on the flatter sections on this climb, and work it hard on the steeper sections, that's what he needs to do. And I remember we watched Jacob Hannon last year do the exact same thing on the same course, although it wasn't the KOM after party, it was finished back in town. But remember, he just got a gap and he just rode away from the field. And he was on a Tron bike as well that day, so maybe there's a secret there. But at 9-10 seconds now, he's getting close to that 15-second magic margin that we know is so important.
Yeah, so
But he's
this
coming
is
to the top now.
yeah, the left-hand turn that they take, you can go up the climb either way, but this way it starts off very cruisy. So you can just see coming up on the right-hand side of the road, he's going to go past a little red flashing sign, and that means the start of the KOM. Doesn't actually increase in gradient too much, and then suddenly it does, and it twists and turns. If he can stay away, because I can see Josiah and A putting in some effort 6 seconds back now, so they are coming back. If Jack Polly can stay away before those turns, out of sight, out of mind, I'm not sure that group will be able to rein it in. Although 6 seconds, it's
Oh,
getting a
six
little bit
seconds.
close.
Pretty
5
close.
now. Again, I just want to call out, that was Grayson Westgate on the front again. So he managed to stay on. We saw him drop off a little bit up that leg snapper, but he's doing very well and actually taking some pulls at the front. So fresh legs for Grayson tonight.
Yeah, and as you can see, that's had an effect. It's 5 seconds now. But what's that done to the group that are chasing? We don't know how hard those riders have had to do that to keep in that pack. Grayson's been fighting. He may be using up more, maybe burning more matches than he's got, but it's having an effect on this field, and it's really making it string out. But here they're going to pull Jack back in. Just how cruel this is. He had a
Yeah.
10-second lead before, and now it's gone back to a couple of seconds, and he's going to be back in the field.
I mean,
But he might have another go.
mentioning a few of the riders in this group, it's like a clash of the codes. You've got John Story, Olympic rower. You've got Ben Ruth, very, very high level track athlete. You've got Alex Heaney, professional, semi-professional cyclist. You've got Mark Bosted, professional triathlete. So there's just people coming from all disciplines here. And I think that kind of is going to be interesting to see play out. We see Barnsey going off a little bit here. Josiah Nay, though,
Which is our name, yeah.
again, loving his
Yeah.
attacks off the front. He just really lights it up. But Alex Heaney kind of going to be closing that down. So these guys,
Yeah.
man, they're making it hard on themselves. Already attacks right at the foot of this climb, getting up to 5%.
Well, let's not forget that Alex led for 2.5 laps of the course in Paris to take the win. So for him, this 20-minute effort is he's done this before and he's won races. So he has obviously got riders with him now, and there's no major opportunity to really jump away and attack because there's no points left. But what it will take is just a concerted effort for maybe 15 seconds to really blow the blocks off. But Josiah's doing now what Jack was doing earlier, and it's just having this little effect on everybody around him. It's good to see that Jack hasn't been dropped from that group either. He's just sitting in the back there, so So maybe that cost him a little bit, but he knows he's got a little bit more in the tank to come back and have another crack at it. But it's only 3 seconds, so they're pulling him back. They've seen the
Yeah.
dangers here.
And this is where it
Um,
gets real. These corners, you can see it's up just around 5% now, but you can see it hits those red numbers in the top right-hand corner on the map. And yeah, it's brutal. It's this one, unlike some of the others on Zwift, it just doesn't really let up. There's no sort of huge areas you can recover. There's a couple of little flat parts through the villages, but not much. And yeah, you've really just got to settle into a pace and accept the pain.
Here comes James Barnes. So James is making a move. You know, I mean, even though James isn't
early feather.
James is So Josiah might be desperate there. He might have known that he had to do something. But we've seen James move the front. He's a very, very strong all-round Zwift racer, but he's more of a sprinter than a climber. But he obviously knows that he probably hasn't burnt too many matches in this race. He's done one sprint to get the points. He's seen an opportunity. The field is getting whittled down a little bit, and he's just come to the front just to keep the pressure on, just to get the power back up, and then he'll probably just drop back and get his other guys to help him out as well. And what he wants to do is come to the finish line with the least amount of people possible, so he can match sprint them. So it's going to have an effect.
Sorry, Rob, just jump over to the women's race just as they're hitting the base of the climb, because I've got this angle here where you can see just in the distance Hannah
look at that. Hannah Prosser.
This whole time has been pushing some huge watts to get back onto this group. And I mean, it's going to be devastating. She's so close to the bottom of the climb. If anyone attacks now, that could be lights out for her. But 7 seconds back, she has fought and fought and fought that entire third lap to get back to this group. So absolutely amazing job, Hannah Prosser.
I hope she gets back onto them and can spend a little bit of time there, because, like I said before, I still think she's probably the best climber for this duration, but she's just probably paying the price for maybe missing a move off the front earlier, which makes it hard. And how much energy has she used to get to this point? If I look at her average power for the race right now, she's much higher than any of the other riders around her. She's a 1 watt per kilo higher on average than the rest of the riders in that front group.
I think she's going to get on, because look at what she's pushing.
Yeah.
She was up to 4.5 watts a kg. The girls at the front, they're around that sort of 4.3 as Georgina Thornton on the front, and she's so close, just down to that 7 seconds behind Danielle Trawoon. I think Hannah Prosser, if she doesn't manage to get to the front of this race, is at least going to sort of be looking at top 3, because I do think a couple of those in that front group may start to drop off as the gradients go up.
Yeah, she's definitely making the most of it. So you can see them, which is painful because they don't seem to be coming any closer, but it does have an effect. It's just constant momentum, constantly moving forward. But yeah, like I said, she's used a lot of energy to get to this point in the race, which can be a little bit difficult, but you can't fault her for having a go and really moving. But it's 10 seconds now, so it's actually stretched out a little bit. But
it's a long time. One rider who's desperately trying to get back on, and then over to the men's race where we've got Alex Heaney, who has attacked
look at this.
Off the front. He was up at around 7 watts a kg, and he's put in some great time on those behinds. 4 seconds back is James Harvey and Jimmy Barnes, call him that, Mark Bosted, 9 seconds back. I mean, you can just see Mark right in the distance there. I mean, Mark, I'm surprised. I thought he would be right up there.
Well, that's had an effect, and I mean, Alex, like I said before, he's won on a long attack. He's won on a long bomb. So this isn't foreign to him, but it's obviously created a little bit of drama in the field behind, because it's not like Mark to have lost that much time. It's a long climb, and Mark's got Ben with him, so they're two of the biggest watts in the field. So if they can just keep ticking along and keep pushing each other, and they're racing the same time trial team, so this isn't unusual to them. They can work together, but they're losing time. Alex Heaney's just opening up more and more.
Tell me about this bike setup, Rob, because I'm looking at someone who goes off the front. He's obviously at a reasonable Zwift level because he's got some pretty good kit. What are your thoughts on what he's riding?
So he looks like he's gone for one of the most aero frames, being the Canyon. But I think it's an 808 wheel, Zip 808, which is great for someone who's on a solo attack, because it's got a lot of aerodynamic advantage, but it's not a super heavy wheel like a disc would be, and it's not a super lightweight climbing wheel. So it's really good for these medium gradient climbs. So at 5%, that's not steep. There's definitely an aerodynamic advantage, especially when you're going 30k an hour. If this was a steep climb, he might be going 19 or 20k an hour, and that aero gain is gone. But and here he is on 8%, and he's coming down to mid 20s. But when it flattens out to 1 or 2%, he'll be going back up to 30, 35. So the aero wheel is certainly an advantage, and it's not super heavy. And as you can see, he's got 8 seconds on the group behind.
It's
Mark
amazing.
has caught up to James Barnes. Yeah, so Mark and Ben have come back in. So that group of 4 is at 9 seconds. It's a betting man would say that they probably would catch Alex, but Alex has taken this field by surprise before and has won by staying out the front by about 7 seconds out in front the whole way, and has still won the race. So this isn't unusual. This could certainly play out, stay this way to the finish.
In the women's race, there's been a bit of action as well. Georgina Thornton has really started putting the hurt on all the other women. We've got Georgina Thornton leading there in that hot pink kit. Nat Smith, amazing, right on her wheel.
Wow.
Bridget Kittle is dropping back. She's 1 second back. Emma O'Connor, 3 seconds back. And Danielle Trawoon, a massive 17 seconds already off the pace. Hannah Prosser, unfortunately, could not get on the wheels and has ended up dropping down to 25 seconds. So she's going to be a bit careful with Sonia Foote riding very fast in that group of Bs catching up. But yeah, good job, Georgina Thornton. She is absolutely taking it to them. You can just see another dig there from her up to 5.5 watts a kg. So Nat Smith, you got to stay on that wheel because you might be in a bit of suffer time soon.
Yeah, but it's amazing for her to have put that much time on Emma. 3 seconds is still not much, but she's still got to ride at consistently higher power than Georgina's putting out, and Georgina's currently riding at mid 4s, pushing 5s. She's been pretty conservative through the whole race. Her watts per kilo have been on the lower side of the group at the front, so she's done a great job of conserving, and she knows, she's seen this course and she knows that it is one of endurance and having that sustained power at the end of the race rather than the high power at the start. But as you can see from that map, she's only a quarter of the way up the climb, so there's a long way to go yet.
And she's picked a bit of a different bike setup to Alex, who we saw on the men's. Same bike, so the Canyon Aero Road, which we've just seen Mathieu van der Poel do extremely well on the Tour de France on. But not very specific wheels. So lightweight potentially, or maybe just not at the right level.
Yeah, I think she's got the Envy 3.4s, and I think this is not actually a bad move because she's not going to be going at faster speeds as Alex is, so the aerodynamic gains aren't quite as great, but she's still on a light enough wheel that the climbs are not going to be dragging her down. And it's having that effect. It's 7 seconds on Nat now, 13 seconds on Kittle and O'Connor, or 17 seconds on O'Connor. So I think Emma's actually, I think she's done for the day. I don't know if she can come back from this, which is going to throw the it's going to throw the leaderboard into
disarray. And I think as well,
you won't do calculations.
There's going to be a lot of calculating over the next day. And looking at Sonia Foote, I've just noticed too, so this is kind of the battle of the bees, and she has broken away from her group too. You've got Heather Neal, 11 seconds back, Carly Francis, 14 seconds back, Britt Lytton, 30 seconds behind Sonia. So unfortunate, because those two are battling a bit out at the front. Like I thought, Sonia Foote, I mean, amazing power numbers. So she has just massively used that to her advantage. She's just in that first part of the climb, so she's still got a long ride ahead of her. But yeah, that's tough for Heather right there, 13 seconds back.
Sonia just doesn't give up. She pushes hard at the start. She gets a little bit dropped. She comes back with another punch at the midway through. She's just an amazingly level of recovery, I just gave him a job. Well, Dr. Willow Commoner would know how to power his athletes. So we
Emma
may see her come back.
Has, I think Will, you're going to have to give her more than a gel. I think you might need to give her a few gels and get her back on the wheels with Georgina. So yeah, give her some more there, Will, not just one.
Yeah. It's got some caffeine in it, but no, this is exciting racing, and it's that level of recovery. I mean, she could come back from that. Like, it may have just been a little bit of a slump in energy, and just it's still a long way to go on this climb. So we are still looking at probably another 20 minutes. And Britt Lytton here is just grinding away. She's not far behind Fiona Gallagher, and she's keeping her in sight. But Laura Wood's just touching her tail, so she's probably going to get across to her.
And she's got to be careful of Anna Longdale, who's just 9 seconds behind. You just see her in the distance there. They're fighting in that B category. So Brits, she's got to stay focused here. She can't let those riders behind catch her up. And I've ridden this climb before in a race, and it is so unpleasant because you start off feeling great, and then you hit just some of those steep bits, and game over. It all really changes.
Yeah, this is such a hard course, such a hard climb. And because the end never seems to come, except it's coming pretty quickly for Alex Heaney, because here he is at the top of the climb.
Well, he's almost at the top. It's the kind of reverse side of it. 34 seconds. I know.
Look
Absolutely
at that gap.
Unreal.
That's phenomenal. So he's done what he did in Paris. He went out and solo, and he just rode away from the field. That's an incredible effort.
Yeah.
He's an amazing rider on the road, and he's doing the same thing online. Speechless. He's at 0.3 watts per kilo higher than anybody else. There's a few guys around him.
Taz Self. Was Taz Self in this group before, this chase pack? Because he's
there now.
Ahead.
Yeah, he was. I'm pretty sure he was there the whole time.
Okay.
So these guys are going for the minors now. We're going to see, again, I still think when it comes down to a field sprint, I still think we're going to see James Barnes roll it for a sprint, but I don't think Mark Boseed's going to let him get away with it. I think we'll probably see Mark and maybe Ben have a crack at trying to get away, because they are near the top, they're near the finish.
And they're sort of in ones and twos behind here. You've got John Story just behind Taz Rush, who's 4 seconds ahead. He'll be in sight. You can just see him there. And Grayson Westgate, another 30 seconds ahead. Josiah Nay, 50. They've just absolutely been detonated by that attack from Alex. And this is just sort of just riding here on your own. You've got someone in the distance to kind of chase down, but it's brutal racing. You can see here a little group of 3, so that's nice that these guys have come together. That's Jack Polly, who had the early attacks, really tried to make something happen for himself. Maybe he knew he wasn't so good at the climbing game, but he's got Gray there and Ryan Kazanowski. So good to see those 3 have come together, but man, they have all been taken here a little bit by Alex Heaney out the front.
And it's hard, because all you can do is just watch the rider in front of you and make sure you're pushing higher watts per kilo than them to at least pull them in, or likewise try and keep higher watts per kilo than the person behind you. Otherwise, you'll get caught. But we're coming up to the finish now. We've probably only got 500 meters to go, I'd say, and then we'll see Alex come across this finish line. Well, this was an amazing. Yeah, this is an impressive result. You heard me before. I didn't pick this.
No,
I honestly thought it was going to come to the line. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a sprint finish, come to the line. So, can Alex swim and run? I hope so, 'cause I'd love to see.
I know. I'd like to see that too. There's a lot of cyclists out here racing who have been messaging me saying, "How long's the swim? Can I wear board shorts in the swim?" So we might have some entertainment when we see these guys have to jump in the pool and then do a bit of a run. But that looks like Alex Heaney's going to take that out. We'll click back soon to Taz Self, because he's put in a little bit of an attack on Ben Ruth. So that's definitely Alex Heaney for the win. So congrats there, Alex. Yep. Very, very good end to the season for you. Some great racing. And let's have a look what's happening behind, because Taz Self has broken away here.
I'm surprised, yeah.
Look,
Ben's
Ben Ruth could catch up.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Ben's coming across.
Oh, I don't know. He's got the watts there. I think Taz Self could take that out. Ben Ruth just behind.
Yeah, and James Barnes and Mark Boseed behind them. I mean, I don't think that will change the top of the leaderboard. I think Mark will still stay at the front, but that's definitely been a different result to what I expected. And as we can see, Mark's just going to come across the line just ahead. He used a feather just at the last minute to get ahead of James, and that's the race, just like that.
I know, James
Incredible
Barnes
stuff.
there. He's a bit, he was after Mark. He just got dropped there a little bit at the climb. I know he doesn't love his climbing. Grayson
Mm,
Westgate here, who was lighting it up. I managed to catch a chase group back on, which has been to his benefit because he's sitting in eighth now. So
yeah.
just behind Josiah Nay. So Grayson Westgate, good job because that work you put in, even though it may have made you suffer a little bit in this climb, has actually meant that you've made a top 10 finish. So that's really good to see from an under 19 rider.
I'd love to know what level Grayson's on because I just read an article on Zwift Insider the other day about the dynamics of bicycles and for climbing, spending some drops on a decent frame and decent wheels makes a massive difference. So Grayson's on the stock Zwift carbon bike with stock
Very
Zwift carbon
early,
wheels.
yeah.
Yeah, and if he had spent some money and bought and got himself on a Cannondale, one of the super light Cannondales or one of the very light specialized tarmacs, that could have made a massive difference, or even some better wheels. So it's worth doing your homework on that sort of stuff, looking to the course. And as you can see, we've got a few riders on Canyons, which is probably the fastest frame. As you see, John Story's on one here. So yeah, you do your homework, and it definitely does make a difference.
We might switch over to the women's race just to, we've seen the men coming through, so the women are in the last parts of their climb. Pretty brutal day out there. This attack
Wow.
by Georgina Thornton has absolutely crushed the spirits of the women behind. We've got Nat Smith. She had got within about 8 seconds. She'd started to sort of have a second wind, but unfortunately, yeah, she's well out of sight now, over 30 seconds back. So it looks like, unless something goes horribly wrong for Georgina, she's going to take out the last race of the series, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Hannah Pross has ridden herself up to Emma O'Connor, and they're in sight of Bridget Kittle. So I'm still thinking Hannah has got some climbing in her, and I'm thinking they could probably, her and Emma could probably get across to Bridget. They've still got about a third of the climb to go, and it's 30 seconds to Bridget. So it's going to be interesting to see, although they are doing pretty similar power at the moment, and Hannah has just dropped off the back of Emma there. So Hannah did very, very well to get across to where she has now, considering she does so much of it on her own. But Georgina Thornton's just showing how strong she is. And, we saw earlier that Georgina's power was not super high. So she did a very good job of conserving,
Yeah.
and she just let it go when she needed to.
I'm
And it's
just
had that
wondering
effect.
here, Bridget Kittle, her watts are going quite high, and I'm just wondering, yeah, I thought she might have Natalie Smith in her sights. Natalie
Wow.
Smith, just with the effort of trying to stay on with Georgina Thornton, may have just destroyed her a bit, and Bridget Kittle has been catching up just ever so slightly this whole time.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, I've been here, I've been in Natalie Smith's position. You were up the front, you were thinking for a sec there, maybe I could win. Then you sort of drop back, and then suddenly you're getting caught by riders behind, and it's not a place you want to be. It is so tough.
So what do you do? Do you know you're getting caught, so you ease up to save a little bit of energy for when they do get to you, or do you keep fighting and try to hope that you can hold them off?
So if this was me and I was Natalie Smith, I'd just drop down to like 2 watts. I think you're going to
Yeah,
get caught, and then I'd just
yeah,
jump on the wheel of this portion here. They're going through a village, and it's going to flatten off. She could get a bit of a draft, and then I'd just stick to Bridget's wheel like glue and really just use it as a psych out. Just
yeah. Because Natalie's on a Tron bike, which is more aero as well, so she can really make the advantage if she's riding with her. But it's that sort of foresight you don't often get when you're racing, because you get white line fever, finish line fever, and all you can do is just keep going for the line. But you don't want to be almost defeatist and let someone catch up to you. But Chris McCormick did it. Has done it in Kona, so it can happen. When he raced Andreas Raylet, caught up to him on the run and let him catch him, and then ran away from him. So the same thing can happen.
Oh, there's great little psych outs you can use. I remember when I
Excuse
was
me.
racing a bit more seriously in triathlon than I do now, and when we'd do a little hairpin corner on the run, I'd run past my competition going the other way, look at my watch, smile and nod,
Yeah.
just to say like, oh yeah, no, this is good, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I got heaps of time in me.
Exactly. So, I mean, Natalie Smith's still fighting strong here, but Bridget Kittle is riding higher watts. I don't think Hannah Prosser and Emma O'Connor are going to manage to catch Bridget,
No.
but also Hannah Prosser has passed Emma O'Connor, so Emma's got to be pretty careful here. She got good bonus points, But Georgina Thornton, who we have been talking about, is just having the ride of her life here. This is perfect. She's coming up just into the last parts of the climb. She'll go through this village. It'll kick up a bit. She'll go through that little logging factory zone that we just saw Alex take it out. But, you've got to love being in this position. 46 seconds ahead. But she's not holding back. She's still up around over 4 watts a kg. So she's still taking it to this course. She's not relaxing at all.
She knows that she's probably feeling great, just on a nice rhythm. Wants to get it over and done with. The sooner she finishes, the sooner she can get off her bike and get it over and done with. But I think this must be her. Would this be her first win? I don't think she's won a race yet, or she's certainly been second before, I think. So this is a great race for her, is to win the final and really throw it out there to make these other riders look at how they raced and was there something that they could have done differently. It's very hard to hide in this race. You're either a great hill climber or you're not, and as we can see, that Georgina is a very, very good hill climber.
And she's been sitting in third place with Emma O'Connor in first, Danielle Trawoon second. Danielle Trawoon she's dropped well back off the pace behind Hannah Prosser now. This is going to really mix things up a bit. If Natalie Smith can stay ahead of Bridget Kittle, she's, I think, just sitting in 6th or 7th. She may leapfrog one of these top 5 riders and move into the top 5 herself.
Yeah, I think Natalie's pulled away a little bit as well, actually, by the looks of it. So it's Natalie's done a great job. She's known as a runner in triathlon circles, and she's always been a strong cyclist, but she's a great runner. So I'd love to see how her treadmill running is right now, because I know she's a phenomenal swimmer as well. She's raced at Kona. She's been at the top of the sport in multiple distances. So she might have what it takes to take out the race in a couple weeks' time, if she's going to be racing it. I hope she is.
Yeah, I hope so too. But looking at Georgina Thornton here, she's just coming up to the finish line here. Through those trees, you'll be able to see the orange banner across the road soon. Wow, 48 seconds ahead of Natalie Smith, a minute ahead of the rest of the field at least. Absolute masterclass from Georgina Thornton in the last race. She obviously likes her climbing.
Yeah, and it wasn't done with a huge attack either. It was just a grind, pedal harder than the others around you, and eventually they'll get dropped. And that's what we've seen here. But no, it's been an interesting. Looks like Emma O'Connor's moved ahead of Hannah Prosser now. Those two are having a hell of a battle on.
That's brutal.
Yeah, and they've still got quite a long way to go as well. So that could change a little bit, but maybe Emma's gel has kicked in.
She's doing it right now. So it's Georgina who'll be crossing the line shortly. We'll congratulate her, and then let's see what's happening in this battle behind. We've got Natalie Smith, actually not too far behind. She can see the banner now too, which Georgina has just crossed. So that's actually got pretty close, but she's well dropped Bridget Kittle now. So maybe she was listening to us. She got a bit panicked and put down the watts. Now 17 seconds ahead. So Nat Smith there coming into second place. She also got bonus points on that second lap sprint. So there's going to be some shake-ups, because she has moved up to ACAT best of 4. So if you've had a terrible race tonight, then you can drop it. If you've had a great race, it'll drop out one of your worst races. So this is going to be a lot of maths overnight to see how this all shakes out.
This has been a best race for a couple of these athletes, actually. I think Alex will probably take this result and drop out one of his earlier races. I know he had one previously, but I don't think he had podiumed in other races. I can't remember now. But Bridget's coming across the line. Not far behind. Not far behind Nat Smith. So
Emma
amazing
O'Connor
work.
Has managed to just pull away from Hannah Prosser.
Yeah.
So that's been quite a battle right to the top. And 5 seconds back, Hannah Prosser, she was so close to getting onto this group at the base of the climb. So extremely well done there from Hannah. Must just be a little bit devastating.
Got to give it to her.
Just see Emma so close there. And we'll go back and have a look at some of the Bs, because Sonia Foote has just had an absolute stellar performance up this climb. And then that'll round out this racing. So we'll head back, see what the B-Cat Sonia Foote's up to. She's just heading to this top part. looks like 49 seconds ahead of Heather Neal. So, yeah, similar to what's happened in the other races, the climbers have had huge advantages, just used their power to their advantage, got into the hurt locker, and managed to just pull away and kind of have a bit of a relaxed finish.
Yeah, it's it's what it takes. It's just using that energy at the right time. I'm just looking back at the men's race now, and just we saw Josiah Nay and Grayson Westgate, Matthew Nay, all having pretty hard attacking races, and their watts per kilo is much higher than the other riders around them, and particularly a lot higher than Alex Heaney, who obviously won the race by a significant amount. So it just shows that you can throw the watts out and you can have some attacking, but when it comes down to it and it's a long hard finish like this, it is about those riders who have conserved energy and bided their time. It makes the racing exciting, and you take those chances if they occur, but just shows how much patience is also involved in performing well in these races. And it's a similar thing in the women's race as well, although Nat and Georgina both had the same watts per kilo. It's just that Georgina probably had a little bit more in her 5 minute just to break away a little bit. But it's all about conserving that energy and just waiting right to the end. As a comparison, Hannah Prosser had a much higher watts per kilo than the other riders, and we know that because she spent so much time on her own.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, hats off to her. That's a great result. It's probably one of her best average powers for a race of this duration.
Exactly. That looks like Sonia Foot will take out the B-Cats tonight. So amazing job there from Sonia. I don't know if she's got her 4 kids sitting there watching her, which she has usually had. So, yeah, I mean, add in winning a B-Cat to being a mum of 4 kids, and wow, that's hugely impressive. 58 seconds over Heather Neal, who's coming up behind. And then we've got a little bit of a battle here between Carly Francis and Sarah Gorman. So we might just follow these two to the line, see if Sarah can catch up 2 seconds back. So 3 seconds back now. I think Carly has actually put in a bit of an attack here. And has
she's
dropped
seen that.
Sarah Gorman.
She's made that dig, and she's just done what she needed to get over it. There's some quick times for the Queen of the Mountains. 21:26 for Nat Smith to be the fastest, although I'm not sure why we don't see our race winner on that leaderboard. That's interesting. Maybe she's already exited out of the game.
Oh yeah, she'll be going. She'll be going.
Yeah, 21 and a half minutes to get up that climb. It's a phenomenal time. That's very good.
Yeah, anything around that 20-minute mark in the women's race is just phenomenal. So, yeah, looks like Carly Francis will take this out over Sarah Gorman, and I think we might. She's dropped her feather now, so she will definitely take that out now. So I think we might call that a night on the racing here. Will come back to us. I'm watching a whole lot of socials coming in. James Barnes looks like he may actually come up. He's thinking about the e-tri event. He's asking if his boardies are okay and how many flat whites are on offer to get some of the cyclists there. So yes, we will get some flat whites out there for you, James, so that you can come along. I'd love to see some triathletes taking on some pure cyclists in a swim, bike, run type event. That would just be unreal.
That's good. That'd be great. We'd love to see that.
So, Rob, that's the end of the 6 weeks. It's gone really fast, but what's sort of stuck in your mind?
The standard racing has got better and better every week. I mean, it was great from the start, but I think what we've seen these last couple of weeks is some very, very exciting racing, some really tactical racing, some amazing performances, and I think we've seen a few new names come up that we'll see in the future in these series as well. But I've really enjoyed the interaction that we've had with the audience and the crowd and the riders. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Had a lot of funny text messages from various riders, so it's been great, and I'm quite glad I haven't been racing actually, because it looks a lot harder than I'd like.
So Rob,
I really enjoyed it.
You started calling it a couple of weeks ago. Who's your male rider of tonight and your female rider of tonight?
Oh, Alex Heaney for sure, and Georgina Thornton, absolutely. I mean, they both won dominantly, and they were, we can't take away from those guys. That was amazing. I thought it was exciting to watch James's sprint, to see how a sprint can be won really, really effectively, especially with a non-sprinting power up. But I think the way that Alex and Georgina both displayed their climbing that was awesome. And Alex's result in Paris, where he had a massive lead on a very, very elite group, I think that was also an amazing result as well. So there's been some great races from both the men and the women, and in the A's and B's as well. Some of the B men races have been great as well. They've been really exciting.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, I'm super pumped. I've spent the whole day at Millennium doing some testing of all the equipment. We're all ready to go. We've got some live camera action coming in too. So everyone, unlike now where the avatar faces are a little bit cool, calm and collected, we're going to have some video cameras right up in the faces of those on the trainers and treadmills. So you can actually see the sweat drops coming down as to what it takes to race well in a Zwift race. I'll be announcing the top fives hopefully tomorrow. And stay tuned, all those people around the top five, because we may have some roll down opportunities too. Be a quick turnaround. We'll announce who will be racing next week. I'm super pumped for it. Rob will be your commentator. I'll be running around behind the scenes, making sure all the tech's working. But it's going to be a total blast. I'm really excited. First e-tri event in Australasia and America. They've only run it a couple of times in Europe. So Stoke will be one of the first ones to run it.
Always groundbreaking. I remember that we were one of the first countries to do something like this last year. This is fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this race goes. So please, if you qualify or if you're selected, please come up and do it. It's going to be a one-off. Not a one-off. It's going to be an amazing opportunity.
Exactly. And huge thanks to our supporter and sponsor of the whole series, which was Manuka Performance. Absolutely unbelievable. Tristan there, it's just fantastic company. New Zealand owned and operated out of Whakatane. And they just can't say enough good things about them and their products. They're fantastic. And
very
thanks
cool
for
product.
Supporting us. Yeah. Also, our Phoenix Cycle Distributors, they sponsored race 1 and race 6 tonight. They're awesome. They've got some really cool spot prizes, bike computers. They've got a whole lot of smart trainers, everything. So check them out if you're in the market. And also Barry from Domestic. He will definitely be at the e-tri event. He is the tech guru extraordinaire, especially helping us out with the run side of things for the event. And amazing. He'll be there watching. He's recovering still for some foot surgery. So huge thanks to our sponsors, skysportnext as well. It's just been amazing. And that's cool. It. That's a wrap on race number 6 of our series in 2021. But keep an eye out next Saturday. We'll be streaming all day long as people do their swim bike run.
Excellent. Thanks for checking in.
All right. Well, I will see you next week, Rob. Catch you guys later.
Thanks, Anna. See ya. Bye.